We're going to start with this simple chair here and try to draw the chair by not drawing the chair. Sounds a little confusing, but hopefully it'll make sense as we start to do it. The tools I've got set up for today are a mechanical pencil, again just for keeping a sharp point, and a viewfinder, which consists of two L shapes cut out of cardboard held together by paper clips, which are adjustable to change proportion. And I've also got something that we didn't have when we were doing the contour drawing, which is an eraser, because we will be correcting things as we go along. The idea is to start with a line that's dark enough to see it, but light enough to erase, and then as we finally become convinced that the line is perfect, then we will darken it and become more committed to it. So as we're drawing an object, we're thinking about that thing, thinking about that chair. And a simple chair is still a very complex object. So how do we think about it in terms of abstract negative shape? And how do we draw not the chair, but the negative shapes around it and let the chair draw itself? So if we're looking at the chair, we might see, well, there's the part you sit in, there's the left arm of the chair, the right arm of the chair, the four legs of the chair, but we don't want to think about any of those things. We just want to think about where there is the thing and where there isn't the thing. That is the figure, ground, or positive shape, negative shape relationship. We want to think in terms of shape because that's what we're drawing on a flat surface. Flat shapes help us to draw on a flat two-dimensional surface. So I'm going to look through my viewfinder and adjust until I see it exactly framing or aligning with the chair. In order to do that, I'm going to close my left eye. My right eye is dominant. If you're right-handed, your right eye is probably dominant. And I'm just going to be looking through one eye. That's very important because if you're looking through two eyes, you'll look through the left eye and then the right eye. Left eye, right eye. And the subject will be jumping around. So the whole time I'm doing this exercise, I'm looking just through my one dominant eye. So I'm looking through the viewfinder. The chair is perfectly queued up. The bottom lowest leg is touching the bottom of the viewfinder. The furthest most left leg is touching the viewfinder. The top is touching the viewfinder. And the right, actually the top part of the chair is touching the right side. So it is perfectly caged within the viewfinder to my point of view. At this point, I want to stop and see the negative shapes around the chair, and that's what I'm going to be drawing. And I've convinced myself that I can see each one of those shapes separately. As I start to draw, I'm going to want to frame things in. So I'm going to start with just a rough frame. And I'm going to look at where along the top line, you could start anywhere really, but I'm starting on the top line. Where along the top line of my viewfinder is the point where the chair touches the edge. And it's just to the right of the middle, right about here. And so that's going to be my starting point. Where on the left side does the chair touch the viewfinder? It touches at the bottom of the leg, which is quite far down. It's about, let me see, right there, 1, 2, 3, about a quarter of the way up. So on my drawing, let's see, this is halfway, and it's about a quarter of the way up or right about here. That's where it touches or makes contact there. Where does it touch on the bottom? It touches to the left of center, which is right about here. And where does it touch on the right-hand side? Again, it looks like it's just about a quarter of the way up the page, right about here. So I've got my 4 contact points. And now I'm going to look for the negative shapes. I'm going to start with the shape up here surrounding the chair. Yeah, that's a good start. That's about the shape I need. I can refine it a little bit later on. Now let me go down to the shape down here. This is an interesting shape, and it starts from this point here, goes up. So I'm going to close that shape off so that we see it as a shape. Here's the shape. And here's the first shape that we drew. Okay, that looks okay. Pretty good. I'll move on over to here, the next shape. And now I've defined this shape, this shape, this shape, this shape, the 4 outer shapes. So I'm going to look for now the enclosed shape within the form, which is the counter. And it's between the arm and the seat of the chair, and it looks like this. Curves subtly that way, then this way, and then down like that. And that is the next shape, the counter. So the other thing I'm noticing is that my proportion overall is too short, and I need to extend my whole drawing up about this high to get the proportion more accurate. Now, you normally would not just be caging an object like this in order to make a good composition, but this is a very helpful device or a very helpful approach whenever you're drawing. Let's say you're drawing a chair as part of a big picture, and you're looking in here and you say, okay, I can draw that as negative shape, and I can start to draw this as negative shape, but then I get to the outer edge and I don't see it as a shape. But you can enclose it with a viewfinder, draw it as a negative shape, and then just erase the outer edge, and you've drawn the chair more accurately than you would have just by trying to draw it in other techniques. So we've got a basic start here. And to finish off this exercise, I'm just going to darken in the drawing with a Sharpie marker first around the edge, and then with a thick marker so I don't have to spend a lot of time scribbling. We're introducing a new mode of thinking, which is our negative shape mode of thinking. It should feel like a clearly different way of seeing the world. And we should be able to lock into that thought process as well as contour drawing. You may have noticed when you were doing your contour drawing that the lines, especially as they came around and circled back on themselves, started to imply shapes. But now we're really moving to the next step, clearly seeing those shapes as something separate, and that's our focus. We can look at their size, shape, proportion, give them meaning. We've got to make sure that those negative shapes are really clearly depicted the way we see them. Next, we'll be taking this observation to a more complex situation and see if we can see the whole world as positive and negative shapes.